I'm Major Melissa Dugan, 40 years old, U.S. Air Force, call sign Ghost 9, and I earned my Purple Heart flying combat rescue. For years, I showed up quietly for my team and my family, taking the hard jobs and the late-night calls without asking for credit. But when a group of SEALs at a Coronado bar sneered that my medal was fake, I drew a line, and what followed changed everything. Have you ever been written off or humiliated by someone you'd have gone to bat for? Tell me in the comments, you're not alone. Before I get into what happened, tell me where you're tuning in from. And if you've ever had to stand your ground after being disrespected, tap like and subscribe for more true stories about boundaries, respect, and reclaiming your worth. What happened next might surprise you. I walk into the Anchor and Compass on a Thursday night around 2100 hours, still wearing my service pin and Purple Heart because I came straight from a briefing at North Island. The place smells like beer and fried food, exactly what you'd expect from a bar 2 miles from Coronado. I'm not looking for trouble. I'm looking for a burger and maybe one drink before I drive back to my apartment in Mission Valley. The bar is half full. A few civilians occupy the booths near the window. But the corner near the pool table belongs to a group of Navy SEALs, maybe 5 or 6 of them, all in their mid-20s, loud in that specific way men get when they're off-duty and trying to decompress. I recognize the energy. I've seen it in every branch, in every country I've deployed to. It's not hostile. It's just young and unfiltered. I take a seat at the bar, order a Sam Adams and a bacon cheeseburger from Nick, the bartender who's worked here long enough to know when to chat and when to leave people alone. Tonight, he leaves me alone. I'm scrolling through my phone, checking emails I should have handled hours ago, when I hear one of them call over. Hey ma'am. U Air Force. I glance up. The one talking is a petty officer first class, based on the insignia I can make out on his ball cap sitting on the table. Dark hair, broad shoulders, the kind of confidence that comes from surviving Hell Week and then some. His tone is friendly enough. I nod. That's right. Desk job, or do you actually fly? There's laughter from his buddies, but it's not mean yet. Just the kind of inter-service ribbing that happens when you put different branches in the same room. I've heard worse at joint operations briefs. I smile, keep it light. I fly. What cargo? Tinkers. Rotary wing. Combat rescue. That gets their attention. One of them, a petty officer second class with a southern drawl, leans forward. No kidding? You deploy. 3 times. Afghanistan. Twice in Iraq. I can see them recalculating. Women in combat roles aren't new anymore, but we're still novelty enough that it shifts the atmosphere when it comes up. The PO1 nods, something like respect starting to register. That's legit. What did you fly? Pave Hawks mostly. Some Hueys early on. My burger arrives. I thank Nick and take a bite, hoping that'll be the end of it. It's not that I don't want to talk shop. It's that these conversations go one of 2 ways. Either they're genuinely curious and we have a good exchange, or they decide I'm exaggerating and it gets uncomfortable. I'm tired, and I don't feel like finding out which way this one goes. For a few minutes, it seems like door number 1. They go back to their game of pool. I eat my burger. But then one of them, a younger guy, maybe a petty officer third class, notices the small black case pinned to my jacket. It's understated, the way I prefer it, but it's there. Hold up. Is that a Purple Heart? I glance down. I forget I'm still wearing it sometimes. It's been part of my uniform for so long that I stop noticing until someone else points it out. I nod. Yeah. For what? Shrapnel. Shoulder. Kandahar province, about 6 years ago. He squints at me, then looks back at his buddies. Something shifts. Maybe it's the beer, maybe it's the fact that I'm a woman and he's not used to seeing one with that particular ribbon, but his tone changes. Huh. That's cool. It's the way he says it. Not quite mocking, but not quite sincere either. Like he's saying it to be polite, but doesn't really believe me. I've heard that tone before. I don't respond. I just take another bite of my burger and check my phone again. But the PO1, Mason Reed, based on what I'll learn later, he's not as subtle. He stands up from the pool table, grabs his beer, and walks over. He leans against the bar a few feet from me, casual, like we're old friends. So you got hit in Kandahar? That's right. Doing what? Extraction. JSC op. He nods slowly, but there's something in his eyes that tells me he's not buying it. Or maybe he just wants to test me. Must have been intense. It was. How many birds did you lose? None. We got everyone out. Everyone. Everyone alive. That should be the end of it. But he glances back at his buddies, and I see the smirk forming before he even opens his mouth again. That's a hell of a story. I don't take the bait. I just finish my beer and signal Nick for the check. Reed watches me, still leaning against the bar, still wearing that smirk. And then he says it, just loud enough for his friends to hear. Nice fake Purple Heart. The words land like a slap. Not because they hurt exactly. I've been doubted before. I've been dismissed, underestimated, questioned. It comes with the territory when you're a woman in a male-dominated field, especially in combat roles. But there's something about the casualness of it, the assumption that I'd wear a medal I didn't earn, that makes my jaw tighten. I don't look at him. I pull two 20s out of my wallet and set them on the bar. Nick glances at me, then at Reed, and I can see him registering the tension. He doesn't say anything. Neither do I. I stand up, grab my jacket, and head for the door. Behind me, I hear one of them laugh. Another one says something I don't quite catch, but the tone is clear. They think it's funny. They think I'm a fraud. I keep walking. I'm 3 steps from the door when it swings open. The man who walks in is tall, maybe 6'2", with the kind of presence that makes people straighten up without him saying a word. He's in civilian clothes, jeans and a black polo, but everything about him says military. His posture, his stride, the way his eyes sweep the room in a quick tactical assessment. I recognize him before he recognizes me. Commander Nathan Cole. Navy SEAL Team Commander. Oh, 5. We've never served together directly, but I know his face from briefs and after-action reports. He's got a reputation, the kind you earn by making hard calls and bringing people home. He stops mid-step when he sees me. His eyes go from my face to my chest, where the Purple Heart is still pinned, and something clicks. His expression shifts from neutral to stunned in the space of a heartbeat. Ghost 9. The bar goes silent. I stand there, hand still on the door, and meet his eyes. I don't say anything. I don't need to. He knows exactly who I am. He straightens, snaps to attention despite the fact that we're both off duty and in civilian clothes, and renders a salute. Ma'am. Behind him, I hear Reed and his buddies freeze. The pool cue someone was holding clatters onto the table. Cole turns slowly and looks at them. His voice is quiet, but it carries. Boys. Apologize. Now. The call sign Ghost 9 came from a night I try not to think about too often. It was late summer, 6 years ago, and the heat in Kandahar province was the kind that made you feel like you were breathing through a wet towel. I was flying a Pavehawk for a joint SOR-JSOC operation, which meant we were working with some of the best and most secretive operators in the military. My co-pilot was Captain Jason Miller, a solid stick who'd been flying combat rescue for almost as long as I had. Our crew chief was a staff sergeant named Ramos, and our gunner was a technical sergeant named Wu. Good people. People I trusted. The mission brief was straightforward: extract a SEAL recon team that had been collecting intelligence on a high-value target near the Pakistan border. They'd been in country for 72 hours, moving quietly, staying off comms except for scheduled check-ins. But their last check-in had been cut short, and intelligence suggested they'd been compromised. We were their ride out. We took off from Bagram around 0200 hours, flying nap of the Earth to avoid radar and keep our signature low. The plan was to land in a dry riverbed about 2 clicks from their position, let them hump it to us, and get out before anyone noticed we were there. Simple. Clean. Except nothing in Afghanistan is ever simple or clean. We were 10 minutes out when the sandstorm hit. It came out of nowhere, the way they do in that part of the world, a wall of dust and wind that turned the night into a brownout. Visibility dropped to 0. We were flying on instruments and instinct, trusting our terrain-following radar to keep us from slamming into a mountain. Miller was on the controls, and I was managing comms and NAV, talking to the SEAL team and trying to get updates on their position. That's when we heard the gunfire. The team was pinned down. They'd been ambushed en route to the landing zone, and now they were taking fire from at least 3 directions. One of them was hit, maybe 2. They needed us now, not in 10 minutes. Miller looked at me. We both knew what that meant. We were going to have to land in the middle of a firefight, in zero visibility, with no backup and no guarantee we'd even find them. I nodded. Let's go get them. We dropped into the riverbed blind, relying on the team's infrared strobes to guide us in. The rotors kicked up so much dust that it was like flying inside a cloud. I could barely see the instrument panel in front of me. Ramos was on the ramp, calling out distances, and Wu was on the gun, scanning for targets we couldn't see yet. We touched down hard. Too hard. I felt the skids hit rock, and the bird shuddered. But we were down. Ramos started yelling, "They're coming in." 30 seconds. I could hear the gunfire now, close enough that I could tell it was AK fire mixed with something heavier, maybe a PCM. The SEALs came out of the dust like ghosts, 4 of them, dragging 2 wounded. One of the wounded wasn't moving. They loaded fast. Ramos and Wu pulled them in while Miller kept the engines hot. I was scanning the perimeter, trying to get a visual on the enemy, when I saw the muzzle flashes. They were close. Too close. We've got contact, 2 o'clock. Wu opened up with the minigun, tracers cutting through the dust. I heard Ramos shouting something, but I couldn't make it out over the noise. Miller was already pulling pitch, trying to get us airborne. That's when the RPG hit. It didn't hit us directly. If it had, we'd all be dead. But it hit close enough that the shockwave knocked us sideways. I felt the bird lurch, heard something snap in the tail section. Alarms started screaming. Miller was fighting the controls, trying to keep us steady, but we were losing hydraulics fast. We're hit. We're hit. Miller's voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the edge of panic underneath. Keep us in the air. I was already running through emergency procedures, trying to figure out what systems we still had and what we'd lost. The hydraulics were gone. We were flying on cables and prayers. We limped out of the riverbed, barely clearing the ridgeline. I could see tracer fire chasing us, but Wu was still on the gun, laying down suppressive fire. Behind me, I could hear one of the SEALs working on the wounded, calling for a medic kit. The one who wasn't moving still wasn't moving. We flew for 20 minutes on a dying bird. Miller's hands were locked on the controls, every muscle in his body tensed. I was on the radio, calling for emergency landing clearance at the nearest FB. The crew chief was trying to patch a fuel leak with duct tape and hope. And then we took fire again. This time it was small arms, but at low altitude and low speed, we were an easy target. I heard the rounds punching through the fuselage, heard someone scream. Miller grunted, slumped forward. Blood on the console. Jason. He didn't respond. I grabbed the controls, shoved his hands aside, and took over. My left hand was flying the stick, my right hand was on the collective, and I was trying not to think about the fact that my co-pilot was bleeding out next to me. Wu was still on the gun. I heard him firing, heard him swearing. Then I heard him stop. I glanced back. He was down. Ramos was trying to get to him, but we were taking fire from multiple directions now, and he couldn't move without exposing himself. One of the SEALs, a big guy with a beard and blood all over his plate carrier, grabbed the gun and took over. He didn't hesitate. He just started firing, methodical, controlled, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Maybe he had. We made it to the FB. Barely. I brought us in hot, no time for a proper approach, just a controlled crash into the landing zone. The skids hit dirt, the bird tipped sideways, and everything went quiet. I don't remember getting out. I remember hands pulling me, voices shouting. I remember looking back and seeing Miller slumped in his seat, medics working on him. I remember the SEAL with the beard standing next to me, breathing hard, blood and dust covering both of us. "You saved our asses," he said. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I was too busy trying not to pass out. It wasn't until later, in the field hospital, that they told me I had shrapnel in my shoulder. I hadn't even felt it. Adrenaline, they said. Shock. I had surgery that night, spent 2 weeks recovering, and then got sent back to Bagram to finish my rotation. The SEAL team sent me a bottle of bourbon and a handwritten note. It said, "Ghost 9, thanks for the ride. We owe you. The call sign stuck. The Purple Heart came later. So did the recommendation for the Distinguished Flying Cross, which I never accepted. I didn't want the attention. I just wanted to do my job. Commander Nathan Cole was one of the SEALs on that bird. I didn't know his name at the time. I didn't know any of their names. But he knew mine. And now, 6 years later, he's standing in a bar in Coronado, telling his men to apologize for calling my medal fake. The three of them are standing now, lined up like they're at attention even though Cole hasn't given them the order. Reed is in the middle. The younger PO3, Eli Ramirez, is on his left, and Tyler Knox, the PO2 with the southern drawl, is on his right. None of them are looking at me. They're looking at Cole, and the expression on their faces is something between confusion and dawning horror. Cole hasn't moved. He's still standing near the door, his posture relaxed, but his eyes hard. He's not yelling. He doesn't need to. The silence is doing the work for him. Finally, Reed clears his throat. Sir, I don't want to hear it. Cole's voice is quiet, but it cuts through the room like a blade. You disrespected a combat veteran. You disrespected a Purple Heart recipient. And you did it in front of me. Reed's jaw tightens. He glances at me, then back at Cole. We didn't know, sir. That's not an excuse. That's the problem. Cole takes a step forward, and I see Reed stiffen. You saw a woman wearing a medal, and your first instinct was to assume it was fake. You didn't ask questions. You didn't show respect. You just decided she didn't earn it. Ramirez shifts uncomfortably. Knox is staring at the floor. Reed, to his credit, holds Cole's gaze. You're right, sir. We were out of line. Damn right you were. Cole turns to me. Ma'am, I apologize on behalf of my men. What happened here is unacceptable. I'm still standing by the door, my hand on the frame, trying to decide if I want to stay or leave. Part of me wants to walk out and forget this ever happened. But another part of me, the part that flew through a sandstorm and got shot at and earned that medal the hard way, wants to stay and hear them say it. It's fine, I say, even though it's not. It's not fine, Cole says. He looks back at Reed. Apologize. All of you. Reed steps forward first. He's not making eye contact, but his voice is steady. Ma'am, I apologize. I was disrespectful, and I was wrong. Knox goes next. I'm sorry, ma'am. It won't happen again. Ramirez is last. His voice is quieter, and I can hear the genuine embarrassment in it. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I nod. Apology accepted. Cole looks at me, and there's something in his expression that I can't quite read. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. You heading out? Yeah. Can I buy you a drink first? I hesitate. Part of me wants to say no, to just get in my car and drive home and put this night behind me. But Cole isn't the one who insulted me. And I can see in his eyes that he's trying to make this right, not just for his men, but for me. One drink, I say. We sit at the bar. Nick, who's been watching the whole thing with the wary expression of a bartender who's seen too many fights almost break out, pours us each a whiskey. Cole raises his glass. To Ghost 9. I raise mine. To making it home. We drink. The whiskey burns going down, but it's a good burn. The kind that reminds you you're alive. Cole sets his glass down and looks at me. I didn't know you were stationed here. Joint Operations Command. North Island. I've been here about 3 months. You planning to stay? For now. He nods. You should have told me you were in town. I would have bought you that bourbon we owed you. I smile, just a little. You already did. 6 years ago. That was the team. This one's from me. We sit in silence for a moment. Behind us, I can hear Reed and his buddies packing up, getting ready to leave. They're quiet now, subdued. I don't look at them. I don't need to. Cole finishes his drink and stands. I meant what I said. What you did that night, most pilots would have turned around. You didn't. You came in hot, got us out, and kept that bird in the air when it had no business flying. We all know it. I was doing my job. No, he says. You were doing more than your job. And my men need to remember that. He salutes again, formal and deliberate, and then he walks over to his team. I watch as he says something to them, low and sharp, and they all nod. Then they leave, filing out one by one, none of them looking back. Nick refills my glass without asking. On the house, he says. I thank him and sit there for a while, alone, staring at the amber liquid and thinking about the cost of a medal that someone thought was fake. I'm standing in the parking lot now, under a flickering streetlight, keys in my hand. My shoulder aches. It always does when I'm tired or stressed, a dull throb that reminds me of the shrapnel they couldn't get all of. Most of it came out during surgery, but a few fragments are still in there, too close to nerves to risk removing. The doctors told me I'd feel it for the rest of my life. They were right. I don't know why I'm still here. I should be in my car, halfway to Mission Valley by now. But I'm standing in this parking lot, looking at the bar, thinking about Reed and his buddies, and the way they looked at my medal like it was a toy from a cereal box. This is why I stopped wearing it in public. Not because I'm ashamed. Not because I don't value it. But because of nights like this, when someone sees a ribbon on my chest and decides it's easier to doubt me than to believe me. It's exhausting. It's a fight I'm tired of having. The door opens and Cole walks out. He sees me, stops, and then walks over. He doesn't say anything at first. He just stands there, a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking like he's trying to figure out what to say. You okay? He asks finally. Yeah. You sure? I glance at him. I've had worse nights. He nods, but he doesn't look convinced. For what it's worth, they're good men. They just made a bad call. I know. That doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. We stand there in silence for a moment. A car drives past, headlights sweeping over us. I hear music from inside the bar, some classic rock song I don't recognize. Can I ask you something? Cole says. Sure. Why do you still wear it? I look down at the purple heart, still pinned to my jacket. It's small, understated, just a gold profile and a purple ribbon. Most people wouldn't even notice it unless they were looking. But it's there. Because I earned it, I say. And I shouldn't have to hide it because other people can't handle that. He nods slowly. Fair enough. But some days, I add, I wonder if it's worth the fight. It is. How do you know? Because men like Reed, they need to see people like you wearing it. They need to know that courage doesn't look the way they think it does. That it's not always loud or obvious. That sometimes it's just a pilot flying a broken bird through a sandstorm because there are people counting on her. I don't know what to say to that. So I don't say anything. I just nod. Cole pulls out his phone, checks the time, and then looks back at me. I've got an early brief tomorrow. But if you ever need anything or if anyone gives you grief again, you let me know. I can handle it. I know you can. But you shouldn't have to. He walks back toward the bar, then stops and turns around. One more thing. Yeah, thank you. For that night. I never got to say it properly. You sent bourbon. Bourbon's not enough. He salutes one more time, crisp and formal, and then he's gone. I stand there for a while longer, alone in the parking lot, feeling the weight of the metal on my chest and the ache in my shoulder and the strange mix of anger and exhaustion that comes from being disrespected for something you bled for. And then I get in my car and drive home. Because distance helps. Distance keeps you from internalizing someone else's disrespect. Distance lets you wake up the next morning and do your job without carrying their ignorance with you. I don't need their apology. I don't need their respect. I just need to keep flying. The next morning, I'm at my desk at North Island by 0700 hours, working through a stack of briefing reports and deployment orders. It's routine work, the kind of paperwork that comes with being a field-grade officer in a joint command. I don't mind it. It's quiet, methodical, and no one's shooting at me. Around 0900, my phone rings. It's Captain Sarah Lynn, a Navy intelligence officer I've worked with a few times. We're not close, but we're friendly enough that she'll occasionally grab coffee with me between meetings. Hey, Melissa. You got a minute? Sure. What's up? I heard about last night. I leaned back in my chair. Of course she did. Military bases are small communities, and news travels fast. Yeah. Are you okay? I'm fine. Good. Because I wanted you to know that what those SEALs did was bullshit. I smiled despite myself. Sarah doesn't usually swear. Thanks. I'm serious. I was talking to some people this morning and the story's already making the rounds. Cole's pissed. Like, really pissed. He made that clear. Well, he's making it even clearer today. He's got those 3 guys on extra duty, and they're required to attend some kind of joint leadership counseling session. I don't know the details, but it sounds like he's making an example of them. I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me is glad that Cole took it seriously. But another part of me doesn't want to be the reason those guys are getting hammered. They made a mistake. They apologized. I'm ready to move on. I didn't ask for that, I say. I know. But Cole doesn't care. He thinks they disrespected the uniform, and he's not letting it slide. We talk for a few more minutes, and then I hang up and get back to work. But I can't stop thinking about it. I don't want to be the woman who got a bunch of SEALs in trouble. I don't want to be the story people tell at the bar. I just want to do my job. Around 1100 hours, I get an email. It's from an address I don't recognize, but the subject line says, apology. I open it. It's from Reed, Knox, and Ramirez. All 3 of them signed it. The email is short, formal, and clearly written under duress. But it's sincere. Ma'am, we want to apologize again for our behavior last night. We were disrespectful, and we failed to show the respect you deserve as a fellow service member and a combat veteran. We understand that our actions were unacceptable, and we are committed to learning from this mistake. Respectfully, PO1 Mason Reed, PO2 Tyler Knox, PO3 Eli Ramirez. I read it twice, then close the email. I don't respond. I don't know what I'd say. Thanks for apologizing for calling my medal fake? There's no good response to that. Instead, I open a new email and send a request to my detailer. I ask about openings at Joint Training Commands, preferably somewhere outside California. Nevada, maybe? Or New Mexico. It's not that I can't handle staying here. It's not that I'm running away. It's just that sometimes, distance is the best way to stop living in someone else's disrespect. I hit send and get back to work. 3 months later, I'm at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, running a training seminar for new Joint Operations officers. It's a good assignment. The work is interesting, the people are professional, and no one here knows me as the woman who got disrespected at a bar in Coronado. I'm just Major Dugan, an instructor with a decent combat record and a reputation for being fair but tough. The seminar is a 2-week course designed to teach junior officers how to work in joint environments. We cover everything from inter-service communication protocols to combined arms tactics to cultural differences between branches. It's dry material, but it's important. Wars aren't won by single branches anymore. They're won by people who know how to work together. On the 3rd day of the course, I'm setting up for a lecture on close air support coordination when I notice a familiar face in the back row. Petty Officer 3rd Class Eli Ramirez. He's sitting with a group of other junior officers, all of them in their service uniforms, notebooks open, looking attentive. He hasn't seen me yet. Or if he has, he's doing a good job of pretending he hasn't. I finish setting up my slides and step to the podium. Good morning. I'm Major Melissa Dugan, call sign Ghost 9, and I'll be your primary instructor for close air support coordination. I watch as Ramirez's head snaps up. His eyes go wide. He recognizes me. I don't acknowledge it. I just launch into the lecture, talking about targeting procedures and communication protocols and the importance of understanding the capabilities and limitations of different aircraft. It's a good lecture. I've given it a dozen times, and I know the material cold. Ramirez doesn't take his eyes off me the entire time. After the lecture, I dismiss the class and start packing up my materials. Most of the officers file out, but a few stay behind to ask questions. Ramirez lingers near the door, clearly waiting for the others to leave. Finally, when the room is empty, he approaches. He's nervous. I can see it in the way he's holding his notebook, the way he's not quite making eye contact. Ma'am, he says. I don't know if you remember me. I remember. He nods, swallows. I just wanted to say again that I'm sorry. For that night. I was out of line, and I hold up a hand. It's fine. No, it's not. I've been thinking about it for months, and Petty Officer Ramirez. I keep my voice calm, professional. You apologized. Your CO made sure you understood why what you did was wrong. We're good. He looks like he wants to say more, but he doesn't. He just nods. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. He hesitates, then adds, for what it's worth, Commander Cole talks about you a lot. About that night in Kandahar. He says you're the reason he's still alive. I don't know what to say to that. So I just nod. We all did our jobs that night. Maybe. But he says you did more than that. He leaves, and I'm alone in the classroom, staring at the projector screen and thinking about the weight of a reputation you didn't ask for. Commander Cole visits Nellis 2 months later for a joint training exercise. It's a big operation, combining Navy SEALs, Air Force pararescue, and Army Rangers for a simulated hostage rescue scenario. I'm not directly involved, but I'm observing as part of my instructor duties. Cole finds me during a break, standing near the flight line, watching helicopters run drills. He's in his combat uniform, looking every bit the seasoned operator he is. Ghost 9, he says by way of greeting. Commander. I heard you're doing good work here. Trying to. He nods, watches the helicopters for a moment. I also heard one of my guys was in your course. Ramirez. Yeah. He tell you he's been a different sailor since that night? I glance at him. No. Well, he has. So have the other two. They've been busting their asses, trying to prove they're better than that moment. He pauses. You made an impact. I didn't do anything. You existed. You wore your medal. You didn't back down. That's enough. We stand there in silence for a while, watching the drills. Finally, Cole says, I've got a proposition for you. Yeah. We're putting together a cross-branch operations planning board. It's a new initiative, trying to improve coordination between SOF units and air support. I want you on it. I think about it. It's the kind of assignment that could be really good for my career, the kind that puts you in rooms with people who make decisions. But it's also the kind of assignment that comes with visibility, with scrutiny, with the constant need to prove you belong. I'll think about it, I say. Don't think too long. We need good people, and you're one of the best. He leaves, and I'm standing there alone, watching helicopters and thinking about the cost of being recognized for something you tried to keep quiet. I take the position. It's been 6 months now, and I'm sitting in a conference room at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, part of a team planning a joint training operation in the Pacific. The room is full of senior officers from every branch, all of us trying to figure out how to coordinate assets across thousands of miles of ocean. It's good work. Hard work. The kind that reminds me why I joined in the first place. During a break, I step outside for some air. It's hot in Florida, humid in a way that makes Nevada feel like a distant memory. I'm checking my phone when I hear someone call my name. It's Cole. He's here for the same planning session, representing Naval Special Warfare. You settling in? He asks. Yeah, it's a good team. Told you it would be. We walk for a bit, not saying much. Finally, he says, you hear about Reed? No. What about him? He made chief. Just got selected. I smile. That's good. He wanted me to tell you thank you. For what? For not holding it against him. For giving him a chance to be better. I don't know what to say to that. So I just nod. Cole stops walking and looks at me. You know what I think? What? I think you've spent so much time trying to disappear that you forgot people are watching. And when they see someone like you, someone who's been through what you've been through and still shows up every day, it changes them. I'm not trying to change anyone. I know. That's why it works. He heads back inside, and I stand there for a moment, looking at the sky and thinking about the strange weight of being someone's example when all you wanted was to do your job. It's a Friday night, almost a year after that night in Coronado, and I'm back in California for a conference. I'm staying near North Island, and after a long day of meetings, I decide to grab dinner at a quiet place I know. It's not the Anchor and Compass. I don't go there anymore. But this place is similar. Small, local, the kind of spot where military folks go to unwind without the noise of the tourist bars in San Diego. I order a drink and some food and settle into a booth near the window. A young officer, maybe a first lieutenant, notices the ribbon on my jacket as I'm taking off my coat. He's Air Force, based on his uniform, and he's got that look of someone who's new enough to still be impressed by rank and ribbons. "Excuse me, ma'am," he says, polite and a little shy. "Is that a Purple Heart?" I glance down. I'm wearing it again. I started wearing it again a few months ago, after I realized I was tired of hiding it. Yeah. Can I ask what it was for? I could give him the short version. The sanitized version. But something about the way he's asking, genuinely curious and respectful, makes me want to tell him the truth. Kandahar Province. Combat rescue mission. We took fire during an extraction. Got hit with shrapnel. That must have been intense. It was. He nods, clearly not sure what else to say. Finally, he just says, "Thank you for your service, ma'am." I smile. "You too, Lieutenant." He goes back to his table and I sit there alone, staring at the medal and thinking about how far I've come from that night in Coronado. People see a medal and think it's proof of bravery. It's not. It's proof of survival and everything you lost to earn it. It's a reminder that you were there when things went wrong and you made it out when others didn't. It's a weight you carry, not a trophy you display. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. I finish my drink, pay my tab, and head back to my hotel. On the way, I check my phone and see a text from Cole. "Heard you're in town. Drinks tomorrow?" I text back. "Sure." And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The next evening, I meet Cole at a rooftop bar in downtown San Diego. It's upscale, not the kind of place you'd find SEALs playing pool and talking trash. The view overlooks the harbor, and the sun is just starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Cole's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with 2 drinks waiting. He stands when he sees me, that ingrained military courtesy that never quite goes away even in civilian settings. "You're early," I say. "Punctuality is a virtue." He grins. "Plus, I ordered for you. Hope you still drink bourbon." "Always." We sit, and for a few minutes we just watch the sunset. It's comfortable silence, the kind you can only have with someone who's been through something real with you. Even if that something happened 6 years ago. "How's the planning board going?" he asks finally. "Good. Busy. We're working on some interesting stuff." "Classified interesting or boring interesting?" "The kind where I'd have to kill you if I told you." He laughs. "Fair enough." We talk shop for a while, trading stories about bureaucratic nightmares and the eternal challenge of getting different branches to communicate effectively. It's the kind of conversation that would bore most civilians to tears, but for us, it's comfortable. Familiar. Then Cole's expression shifts, becomes more serious. "I wanted to talk to you about something." "Okay." "That night at the bar. The one we don't talk about." He pauses. "My guys, they learned something that night. But I don't think I ever properly addressed what it meant for you." I take a sip of bourbon, buying time. "It's ancient history." "Is it?" I meet his eyes. He's not letting this go. "What do you want me to say, Nathan? That it hurt? That it made me question whether wearing my uniform in public is worth the hassle?" "Yeah, it did. But I'm past it." "Are you?" I don't answer right away. Because the truth is complicated. I am past it, in the sense that I don't think about that night every day. But I'm not past it in the sense that it changed something in me, made me more cautious, more aware of how people perceive me. "I'm working on it," I say finally. He nods. "For what it's worth, those guys talk about you like you're a legend. Ramirez especially. He tells that story to every new guy who comes through the team." "What story?" "The one where they disrespected a war hero and got their asses handed to them by their CO. He uses it as a teaching moment. Don't assume you know someone's story just by looking at them." "That's good advice." "It is. And he learned it from you." Cole finishes his drink. "You know what the worst part about that night was? Not what they said to you, but the fact that you weren't even surprised. Like you'd been through it before." "I have." "How many times?" I think about it. The comments at the flight academy. The remarks at my first duty station. The casual dismissals, the questioning looks, the assumptions that I got where I am because of diversity initiatives rather than skill. Not constant, not every day, but often enough to build up scar tissue. Enough that I stopped counting. Cole's jaw tightens. "That's unacceptable." "Maybe, but it's reality." I lean back in my chair. "You want to know what I've learned? People are going to doubt you. They're going to question your credentials, your experience, your right to be in the room. And you can either spend your energy fighting them, or you can spend it proving them wrong through your work. You shouldn't have to prove anything. No. But I do. And so does every other woman in a combat role, every minority in a leadership position, every person who doesn't fit the traditional mold of what a warrior looks like. I pause. The difference is, I've stopped being angry about it. I've accepted it as the price of admission. That's not fair. No. But it's true. We sit with that for a moment. The sun has fully set now, and the city lights are starting to come on. The harbor below is dotted with boats, their running lights reflecting off the dark water. Can I tell you something? Cole says. Sure. That night in Kandahar, when you came in through that sandstorm and pulled us out, I remember thinking, this pilot is either crazy or the best damn aviator I've ever seen. And then when we were taking fire and you were flying one-handed because Miller was down, I realized you were both. I was just doing my job. No. You were doing what most people couldn't do. And when we got back and I found out you were a woman, you want to know what I thought? What? I thought, of course she is. Because if she'd been a man, she probably would have turned around instead of coming in hot like that. She wouldn't have had anything to prove. I frown. That's not let me finish. He holds up a hand. I'm not saying women have something to prove. I'm saying the system makes you prove it over and over until the standards you hold yourself to are higher than anyone else's. And that night, your standards saved my life. I didn't save your life to make a point about gender equality. I know. You saved my life because that's who you are. But the fact that you had to be twice as good to get the opportunity to be in that seat in the first place? That's the part that pisses me off. I don't know what to say to that. So I just nod. Cole signals the waiter for another round. I put you in for that board position because you're the best person for it. Not because you're a woman. Not because of what happened in Kandahar. But because when I look at the people I want making decisions about how we coordinate air support with ground operations, you're at the top of the list. I appreciate that. You should. Because I don't give out compliments lightly. He grins. Now, can we please talk about something other than gender politics and military hierarchy? This is supposed to be a social drink. What did you have in mind? I don't know. Sports? Movies? Your complete lack of a social life. Excuse me. Come on, Melissa. When's the last time you did something that wasn't work-related? I think about it. I went to a museum last month. A military museum doesn't count. It was an art museum. Okay, that's slightly better. But still. You need hobbies. I have hobbies. Name one. I run. That's exercise, not a hobby. I read. Let me guess. Military history and leadership books. He's not wrong. Sometimes fiction. What kind of fiction? Thrillers mostly. He shakes his head. You're hopeless. Says the SEAL who probably spends his free time at the gun range. I also rock climb, surf, and play guitar. Badly, but still. Guitar. Don't look so surprised. We're not all meatheads. We spend the next hour talking about nothing important. Music, travel, the best places we've been stationed, the worst meals we've eaten in various countries. It's easy, comfortable, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not Major Dugan or Ghost 9 or the woman who got disrespected at a bar. I'm just Melissa, having drinks with a friend. When we finally leave, Cole walks me to my car. It's a warm night, and the streets are full of people enjoying their Saturday evening. Thanks for this, I say. I needed it. Anytime. He pauses. And Melissa? For what it's worth, I'm glad you're back to wearing your medals. People should see them. They should know what you've done. Even if it means dealing with idiots who think they're fake. Especially then. Because every time someone like Reed makes an ass of himself, he learns. And maybe the next time he sees a woman with a combat ribbon, he'll think twice before opening his mouth. That's optimistic. I prefer to think of it as pragmatic. He opens my car door. Drive safe. You too. I watch him walk away, then get in my car and sit there for a moment, thinking about the strange trajectory that brought me from that bar in Coronado to this rooftop in San Diego. About the cost of being visible and the price of hiding. And I realize that Cole's right. I'm tired of making myself smaller to make other people comfortable. I'm tired of second-guessing whether I should wear my medals, whether I should mention my deployments, whether I should take credit for the things I've accomplished. I earned this. All of it. The medals, the rank, the respect. And I'm done apologizing for it. Monday morning, I'm back at MacDill, sitting in a conference room with 15 other officers, planning a major joint exercise that will involve forces from all 4 branches. It's the kind of operation that requires precise coordination, detailed planning, and a whole lot of patience. 2 hours into the meeting, we hit a snag. The Navy wants air support available within a 10-minute window. The Air Force says that's not realistic given the distances involved and the refueling requirements. The Army representative is getting frustrated because his ground forces are going to be exposed if the air support isn't there when they need it. I've been quiet for most of the meeting, listening, taking notes, assessing the situation. But now I speak up. What if we pre-position rotary assets closer to the objective? We can't get fixed-wing there in 10 minutes, but we can have helicopters on standby. The Navy commander, a captain I haven't worked with before, looks skeptical. That puts the birds at risk. If the enemy has anti-air capabilities, then we position them behind cover, terrain masking, and we have them ready to pop up and provide support the moment it's needed. It's not perfect, but it's better than leaving ground forces exposed for 30 minutes while we wait for fast movers to arrive. The Air Force colonel nods. That could work. We'd need to coordinate with the SOAR guys, but it's feasible. The Army major grins. I'll take it. We spend the next hour hammering out the details, and by the time we break for lunch, we have a workable plan. As people are filing out, the Navy captain approaches me. That was good thinking, Major. Thank you, sir. You have rotary experience? I do. Combat rescue, 3 deployments. He nods, reassessing me. I can see it happening, the mental shift from just another staff officer to someone who knows what they're talking about. It's a shift I've seen 1,000 times. We should talk more about helicopter integration. I think we're underutilizing that asset. I'd be happy to. He walks away, and I'm left standing there, thinking about how different this interaction was from the one at the bar. Same branch, different attitudes. It's not about the Navy. It's not even about gender. It's about individuals and whether they're willing to listen. The rest of the day goes smoothly. I grab dinner at the base dining facility, then head back to my temporary quarters to review some documents for tomorrow's session. I'm just settling in when my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Ma'am, this is PO1 Reed. Commander Cole gave me your number. I hope that's okay. I just wanted to let you know I made chief, and I wanted to thank you for not giving up on me after that night. You didn't have to show me grace, but you did, and it changed the way I see things. Thank you. I stare at the message for a long time. Then I type back, "Congratulations, Chief. Keep leading by example." His response is immediate, "Roger that, ma'am." I set my phone down and lean back against the headboard, thinking about the long arc of growth, how people can surprise you, how grace is sometimes the most powerful form of correction. 3 weeks later, I'm giving a presentation at a Women in Military Aviation Symposium in Washington, D.C. It's not something I would normally do. I don't like being held up as a role model, don't like the implication that I represent all women in combat aviation. But my commander asked, and I couldn't come up with a good reason to say no. The audience is about 200 people, mostly women, mostly military, ranging from junior enlisted to senior officers. There are also some civilian advocates, some members of Congress, some media. I keep my presentation simple. I talk about my career path, the challenges I've faced, the lessons I've learned. I don't sugarcoat it, but I don't dwell on the negative either. I talk about the mission in Kandahar, but I frame it in terms of crew coordination and decision-making under pressure, not as a gender issue. When I finish, there's applause, and then the moderator opens it up for questions. A young airman, maybe 20 years old, raises her hand. "Ma'am, how do you deal with people who don't think you belong?" It's the question I've been dreading because there's no good answer. But I owe her honesty. You prove them wrong, I say. Not through words, but through action. You show up, you do the work, you meet the standard. And when they move the goalposts, which they will, you meet the new standard too. Eventually, most people come around. And if they don't? Then you decide whether you're doing this for their approval or for yourself. Because if you're doing it for their approval, you'll never be satisfied. There will always be someone who doubts you. But if you're doing it because you love the work, because you believe in the mission, because you want to serve, then their opinion doesn't matter. She nods, but I can see she's not entirely satisfied with that answer. Neither am I, honestly. It's a survival strategy, not a solution. Another hand goes up. This time it's an older woman, a colonel. Major, you mentioned that mission in Kandahar. Can you talk about what it felt like to receive the Purple Heart? I hesitate. This is dangerous territory. But I also think it's important. Honestly, it felt complicated. On one hand, I was proud. I'd earned it. I'd bled for it. But on the other hand, I knew that every time I wore it in public, I'd have to deal with people's reactions. Some would respect it. Some would question it. Some would assume it was fake or that I got it for something minor. I pause. About a year ago, I was at a bar and some SEALs saw my Purple Heart and accused me of wearing a fake medal. Their commander happened to walk in and corrected them, but the damage was done. And for a while after that, I stopped wearing my medals in public. The room is completely silent. But then I realized something. If I hide my accomplishments because I'm afraid of people's reactions, I'm letting them win. I'm letting them dictate how I present myself. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. So I wear my medals. And if someone questions them, that's on them, not on me. The applause this time is louder, more sustained. I see several women nodding, some wiping their eyes. After the presentation, dozens of people want to talk to me. Junior officers asking for advice. Senior officers sharing their own stories. Civilians thanking me for my service. It's overwhelming, and by the time I finally escape to grab lunch, I'm exhausted. I'm sitting alone in a cafe near the conference center, eating a sandwich and checking my email, when someone slides into the seat across from me. It's a brigadier general. Air Force. I start to stand, but she waves me down. Relax, Major. This isn't official. She extends her hand. General Patricia Vance. I was at your presentation. Ma'am. It's an honor. The honor is mine. That was a hell of a talk. She signals the waiter for coffee. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you really agree to speak at this conference? Because I've read your file and public speaking doesn't seem like your thing. I smile. It's not. But my commander asked, and I figured if I said no, I'd just be another woman who's uncomfortable talking about being a woman in the military. Fair enough. But you did more than just talk about being a woman. You talked about being a pilot, being a leader, being someone who makes hard decisions under pressure. That's what made it powerful. Thank you, ma'am. She takes a sip of her coffee. I'm putting together a task force to review training standards for combat aviation. I want to make sure we're holding everyone to the same standards, that we're not creating barriers that don't serve a legitimate purpose. I need people who've been in the fight, who understand the realities, and who aren't afraid to call bullshit when they see it. Would you be interested? I don't even have to think about it. Yes, ma'am. Good. I'll send you the details. She stands. And Major? Keep wearing those medals. The next generation needs to see them. She walks away, and I'm left sitting there, thinking about how one night in a bar somehow led to this moment, sitting in a cafe in D.C., being recruited by a general to help shape the future of military aviation. Life is strange sometimes. 6 months later, I'm back at Nellis, but this time I'm not teaching. I'm here for the Red Flag exercise, one of the most complex and realistic air combat training events in the world. My role is to coordinate combat search and rescue assets with the airstrikes and ground operations, ensuring that if anyone goes down, we can get them out quickly. It's demanding work, the kind that requires you to think 3 steps ahead and coordinate with dozens of different units simultaneously. It's also exactly the kind of work I love. On the 3rd day of the exercise, I'm in the operations center, monitoring radio traffic, when I hear a call sign I recognize. Ghost 9, this is Trident 2-1. We have a simulated aircraft down, requesting immediate CSAR support. Trident 2-1. That's Cole's team. I key the mic, Trident 2-1, this is Ghost 9 actual. I copy a request. CSAR birds are inbound, ETA 8 minutes. There's a pause, then, Ghost 9 actual, Good to hear your voice. Trident 2-1 out. After the exercise, Cole finds me in the debrief room. He's grinning. Ghost 9 actual? When did you start using that call sign? When I took over as senior CSAR coordinator for the task force. It seemed appropriate. It is. He glances around the room, then lowers his voice. You hear about the new training standards coming out? I wrote them. His eyebrows go up. You did? Well, I helped. General Vance put together a team, and we spent 4 months reviewing every aspect of combat aviation training. We eliminated some barriers that weren't serving any legitimate purpose, and we added some requirements that should have been there all along. Like what? Like realistic stress scenarios. Like evaluating decision-making under pressure, not just technical proficiency. Like making sure instructors are trained to recognize bias and hold everyone to the same standard. Cole nods slowly. That's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. Good. Comfortable people don't change. He laughs. You've gotten more direct since I saw you last. I've gotten tired of dancing around the truth. I like it. He checks his watch. I've got a flight back to Coronado in a few hours. Want to grab dinner before I go? Sure. We end up at a steakhouse off base, sitting in a booth in the back, talking about everything and nothing. It feels normal now, this friendship that grew out of a night in a sandstorm 6 years ago. Easy. Can I ask you something personal? Cole says. Depends on how personal. Do you ever regret it? The career, the deployments, the sacrifices. I think about it. Really think about it. Sometimes. When I see my old college friends posting pictures of their kids on social media, or when I'm eating Thanksgiving dinner alone in a dining facility halfway around the world. But then I think about what I've done, the people I've helped, the missions I've been part of. And I realize that I wouldn't trade it. Not for anything. Not even for a normal life? What's normal? Everyone sacrifices something. I just chose to sacrifice different things than most people. He nods. I get that. Besides, I add, I've gotten to do things most people only dream about. I've flown combat missions, saved lives, worked with some of the best people in the world. How many people can say that? Not many. Exactly. I've finished my steak. What about you? Any regrets? Just one. What's that? That I didn't shut Reed down faster that night. That I let you walk out of that bar without making sure you knew how much we respected you. You made it right. Eventually. But you shouldn't have had to wait for me to show up. You shouldn't have had to prove anything to anyone. Maybe not. But that's life. We finish dinner, and Cole drops me back at the base before heading to the airport. As I watch him drive away, I think about how far we've both come, how that one night in Kandahar created a bond that survived deployments and transfers and time. And I think about how sometimes the hardest battles aren't the ones you fight overseas. They're the ones you fight every day, just trying to be seen as what you are, a professional, a warrior, a person worthy of respect. But I'm still here. Still flying. Still fighting. And I'm not going anywhere. 1 year later, I'm standing in front of a mirror in my quarters at Joint Base Andrews, adjusting my dress blues. The ribbon rack on my chest has grown since that night in Coronado. The Purple Heart is still there, but it's joined now by the Distinguished Flying Cross. I finally accepted it 6 months ago, after General Vance personally called and told me that refusing recognition wasn't humility, it was denying the next generation example to follow. She was right. I'm still getting used to admitting that. Today is different, though. Today, I'm not teaching a class or coordinating an exercise or sitting in a planning session. Today, I'm being promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Oh, 5. The same rank as Cole, which he's already texted me about 3 times this morning with increasingly ridiculous jokes about us being equals now. The ceremony is small, just a handful of people in a conference room. My parents flew in from Oregon, looking proud and slightly bewildered by all the military protocol. General Vance is here to administer the oath. Cole took leave to attend, standing in the back in his service dress blues, that familiar slight grin on his face. Captain Sarah Lynn is here too, along with a few other officers I've worked with over the years. But the person I'm most surprised to see is Chief Reed. He's standing near the door, looking slightly uncomfortable in his dress uniform, but he meets my eyes and nods with genuine respect. General Vance calls the room to attention. The ceremony is brief, professional. She reads the orders. I raise my right hand and repeat the oath I've said before, but that somehow feels weightier this time. My father, a Vietnam vet himself, steps forward to pin on the new rank insignia. His hands shake slightly as he removes the gold oak leaves and replaces them with the silver ones. "Proud of you, Missy," he whispers, using the nickname he hasn't called me since I was 10. "Thanks, Dad." When it's over, there's applause and handshakes and the obligatory reception with mediocre cake and coffee. People congratulate me, tell me I've earned it, make jokes about the increased responsibility. I smile and thank them and try not to think about the fact that I'm now one of a relatively small number of women at this rank in combat aviation. Cole corners me near the coffee station. "How does it feel, Lieutenant Colonel? Ask me tomorrow when the paperwork starts." That's the spirit. He hands me a small box. "This is from the team." I open it. Inside is a challenge coin, custom made. On one side is the sealed trident. On the other side is a pavehawk silhouette with the words Ghost 9, never forgotten, engraved below it. "Nathan, it was Reed's idea, actually. He wanted you to know that what you did that night, and what you've done since, it matters. To all of us." I close the box, not trusting myself to speak for a moment. Finally I manage, "Thank you." "Tell him thank you. Tell him yourself. He's right over there." Reed approaches carefully, like he's still not entirely sure he's welcome. "Ma'am, congratulations on your promotion." "Thank you, Chief. And thank you for this." I hold up the coin. "It's the least we could do." He pauses. "I wanted you to know I've got a kid now. A daughter. She's 6 months old. Congratulations." "Yeah, thanks." He shifts his weight. "The thing is, I keep thinking about what kind of world I want her to grow up in. What kind of military I want her to join if she chooses that path. And I realize that people like you, you're building that world. You're making it so that maybe when she's old enough, she won't have to deal with the kind of disrespect I showed you." "That's good, Chief. That's growth." "I hope so. Because I want to be able to tell her that her dad learned from his mistakes. That he met someone who showed him what real strength looks like, and he became better because of it." We shake hands, and there's something final about it. Not an ending, but a closing of a circle. He's not the same petty officer who mocked my medal 2 years ago. I'm not the same major who walked out of that bar. We've both changed. After the reception, my parents head back to their hotel, and most of the other guests drift away. But Cole lingers, and so does General Vance. "Walk with me, Lieutenant Colonel," Vance says. We step outside into the crisp autumn air. The leaves are turning, and there's a bite of winter coming in the wind. "I have another proposition for you," Vance says. "I'm standing up a new joint task force focused on combat aviation integration across all domains. It's a 3-year assignment, based here at Andrews. You'd be my deputy commander." I stop walking. "Ma'am, that's a big job." "I know. But you're ready for it." "More than ready." She glances at Cole. "Commander Cole has agreed to serve as our Special Operations Liaison. So you'd be working together." Cole shrugs. "Someone's got to keep you honest." I look between them, these two people who've somehow become central to my career, my life. 2 years ago, I was walking out of a bar, tired and dismissed. Now I'm being offered one of the most important positions in modern military aviation. "I'd be honored, ma'am." "Good. Report Monday. We've got a lot of work to do." Vance walks away, leaving Cole and me standing there. "You knew about this," I say. "I may have been consulted." "And you agreed to take the liaison position just to work with me?" "Partly. Also because it's a good assignment and I'm getting too old to keep running around in the desert." He grins. "But mostly because someone needs to make sure you don't become too serious in your old age, Lieutenant Colonel." We start walking again, no particular destination in mind. The base is quiet in the afternoon lull, just a few airmen heading to their duty stations. "You know what the best part about today is?" I say. "What?" I didn't have to prove anything. I didn't have to justify my promotion or defend my record or deal with anyone questioning whether I earned it. I just got promoted because I was the best person for the job. That's how it should always be. Yeah, but it's not. So I'm going to appreciate it when it happens. We walk in silence for a bit, And then Cole says, "Remember that night in Kandahar? When everything went wrong and you kept that bird in the air through sheer will?" "I remember. I knew then that you were someone special. Someone who'd make a difference." He stops, turns to face me. "I just didn't know you'd make this much of a difference. You've changed policies, changed attitudes, changed lives. That kid Reed's raising? She's going to grow up in a better military because of you. We're all building it together." "True. But some people lay more bricks than others." He salutes, crisp and formal. "It's an honor serving with you, ma'am." I return the salute. "The honor's mine, Commander." As I watch him walk away, I think about the long road from that sandstorm to this moment. About the costs and the victories, the doubts and the certainties. About wearing a medal that someone once called fake and building a career that no one can question. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Melissa Dugan. Call sign Ghost 9. And I'm just getting started. That's where I'll leave it tonight. I kept the medal on and kept my head up. If you've had to correct someone's disrespect, how did you handle it? Would you have accepted the apology or walked away? For those who serve, do you wear your ribbons in public or keep them off duty? Drop your story in the comments, tell me where you're watching from, and if this resonated, hit like and subscribe for more grounded, true-to-life stories about boundaries and respect.